All right. Sorry about that, guys. No clue what happened there, and it may happen again. Who knows? I will just try and keep an eye on it. So, on the pulleys, while we reset whatnot and wait for everyone to show up, Miro, who is in the chat, designed these really nifty little things that are in the parts folder for 2.1 that are tools to allow you to press fit things in together as well. Load these spacers and your pulley into a vise, crank it down, and problem solved. So speaking of those ever so handy razor blades, you can see I'm going to disassemble this one. And just so you can see, here is a brand new one, unassembled. Here's the one I'm taking apart. No camera tricks, right? No tricky. All right, see? We're going to take that and we're going to set that over there. We're going to take this, and it drops in. Take that, and away it goes. And then, let me make sure it's lined up. I don't have eyes on top of mine. Right there. And there's the one that I pulled it out of. As you can see, it works. All right, I'm not going to bother taking this one apart, right now at least. Yeah, and I mean, it could very well be that it's something with my computer, my setup, whatnot. This is, you know, I'm running off an older MacBook Pro that's, what is it now, 4 years old, only dual core, so it could be choking there, could be choking somewhere else, who knows. I mean, it is what it is. So if it freezes again, I will start a new stream, and we'll just keep doing this. And we'll just go back to that camera for the moment. And I'm running at 60 FPS right now. I might drop it to 30. What do you guys think? Just give me a little more headroom as far as CPU and everything else. But I can keep it at 60 if you guys feel strongly about it one way or the other. And I lied, I was going to take that one apart. All right, let me throw this back in his parts bag. And while I'm kind of rummaging around, are there any other parts you guys kind of want to see? What do you think? What do you want to see? What do you want to do? What do you want to know? You have me until either I am bored, I am tired, or, you know, whatever. Yeah, Carlos, if you want to, you know, get a bigger, beefier rig for me as a laptop, you're more than welcome to, and I will stream stuff with that. Which points flex in the gantry for leveling? So, I will actually point that out because it's pretty clever. Let me grab this camera here. So, if you see this joint right there, that. Yep, almost made that mistake again. Not today, Isis. Not today. So, all right, looking at that. So, that block right there that you are looking at has an M5 screw in there. That M5 screw screws into that gantry. You've got a hammer, you've got a T-nut in there, whether it be a hammerhead, if you're fancy like me, the Masumi shorts, you know, you could even put a square nut in there. Whatever makes you happiest. Uh, Now, the trick is you don't tighten that bolt all the way down. You actually leave it loose and it floats on that corner, and those move and allow it to go back and forth and adjust for leveling. Now, one thing we've figured out is that if you have things super tightened down, it cannot level itself. So they actually need to be loose and float. So don't go all Hulk strong on those corners. All right, Andre, I will try and get my doggo over here momentarily. Actually, let's see. Extreme canine close up. Yes, it was not frozen. It was just sitting there uh, while I went and fetched my canine, who now needs to go outside. Go. All right. All right. Let's see. So now that I have answered that request, what else? Oh, yes, that's actually a good point to talk about. You'll see I have got one of the Hall Effect in-stop boards designed by the Brack Show, who is present if he wants to address or announce who he is, because he is not the Brack Show in chat, and I'm not going to, spoil his alter ego, but very, very clever. And let's see. Oh, well, let me rearrange this because I need to actually get it. Looking at that, there we go. That's a Hall Effect board right there. Uh, so the since I'm ADHD like that, the metal pegboard, Andre, is a company called Wall Control. Uh, I got it on Amazon. I know you're in Canada, so I'm not sure where you could find it. It's made here in the United States. Uh, it's fairly inexpensive. So, like, if the next time you come to the States, you have some of it shipped to you from Amazon, because you can get it on Amazon with Prime. Uh, I really like the stuff. All right. So, the Hall board is, uh, as Nero says, really nice, but it is not mission critical. It is not something you absolutely positively have to have. Now, I really like it because it involves magnets. And as we all know, we don't know how magnets work, right? Right? Oh, this is an ICP. Anyways, so Hall board. You've got a Hall sensor here, and then you've got another one right over there. And those are detecting magnets that are inset into that strike block and actually into the carriage. That little notch right there, that little notch has a magnet in there. Let's see. And this sensor, uses magnets and science and voltage. Yes, 3.3 volts if you're duet, 5 volts on ramps. And let's see if I can focus this a little better. I'll move it back some. To detect when you're, approaching that axis maximum. Side note, the Voron homes to max, not min. So when that sensor is triggered, that is on my build at 320. On someone else's build, it may be insert whatever build size you got here. The nice thing about it is very adjustable. These little blue things right here, and you can't really see with the contrast. Let's see if I can get a better shot. Yep. That is absolutely not better at all. Okay, much better. You can kind of see it towards the top of your screen. These blue pots right here, little adjustment switches that you can use, Phillips head screwdriver, which is why I was showing one off earlier, to adjust it and adjust the sensitivity. Someone brings up really a good point. First off, yes, Molex does make a specific connector for that. You can use a DuPont connector. Use the DuPont connector. It's a ton cheaper and it's easier to source. Go buy a kit on Ali or Amazon or whatever for $5 and you'll have enough DuPonts for multiple printers. Yes, make sure you have your magnets, you know which way they are. Let me grab some magnets really quick and I will demonstrate what I'm talking about. Wait one. Ta-da, magnets. These are the same magnets we use in the hallboard. I just have a bunch of them because I could only buy them in a 50-pack. So, if you see, notice I'm putting it right there on there, and there's nothing lighting up or triggering or anything. See how there's a little red light glowing? Let's do this. Let's show you what I talk of now. So, if you've got it right, you will see a little light when you approach it with a magnet. You get the wrong end, because magnets have poles, north and south. If you have the wrong pole, that magnet won't sense. So you kind of need to make sure you have the right magnet there. Oh, also, because everyone loves the pegboard, magnets. My board has not gone poof. I was just using the wrong side and also like not lined up. This is what I get for trying to, coordinate my movements through a camera on my computer while looking in a completely different direction. All right. What else? What else? What else? What else? All right. There's got to be something else you guys want to say. So Carlos, you're saying that you could have theoretically put this type of sensor on the print head and had magnets on both sides to determine, positive and negative? That would be kind of cool too. Although I know you are probably sick and tired of circuit design at this point for various one-off projects. Let's see. All right. What do we want to see? 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 Stream rate still over 6,000. Yay. So you've seen the doggo, you've seen the printer, you've seen the various things in the printer. Let's see, what else? I'm sure you guys want to see something else. Just ask, because I don't know. Also, we will do this. just so you can see that it's me being clever. Well, maybe in a minute. Oh, dang it, I don't want to do that. How do I determine the belt tension? Give me a second. Oh, yes, the lights just went off because I've got my LEDs set to thermostatic. Basically, they turn on and off when certain temperatures are hit. In my case, it is a 45 degrees C. They are on if it's above 45. They are off if it's below. So what you can do to actually set the tensions to some degree is on these corners, you'll see a little M3 that goes through into an eye lock. Let's see if I can do this. There. And it pushes against the head and base. There's another eye lock down here. And that's the M3 there, where my pinky is. And those push and tension here. Same thing on this side. But the best way to do it is to bring your gantry all the way forward so it touches. It'll touch hopefully on both sides. If it doesn't on both sides, it'll touch on one. And so it'll be slightly racked potentially. Before you lock everything down, just get yourself a set of pliers or whatever, grab onto your belts and pull on them and adjust the tension while you are, have things sitting there to eliminate any sort of, off kilter racking and the like. And once you've done that, then bolt everything up, bolt all your belt pads together. And once you've done that, then you just use those screws for very fine adjustment. They are not supposed to be the be all end all of getting everything done. All right, let's see. All right. So there's got to be more. I know there's more. What do you want to know? And yes, you can go really crazy with it, breaking out a guitar tuner and everything else. I have not gotten to that level. I just do it by hand, and it's worked for me so far. Doesn't mean it's going to continue to work for me, but it's worked for me so far. So, oh. So Nero, what do you want to know about the wiring? Anything in particular? Since I'm running a duet, what I'm doing is a little different than what most people who are going to be clipper and ramps and whatnot do. I honestly can't speak to what is going to happen in that sort of wiring because I haven't done it, and me speaking to that would be a little bit disingenuous. But I can talk about what's going on other places. You need and lots of wires run through here. I don't know off the top of my head how many. I've got a spreadsheet somewhere that keeps track, so I don't have to. But you run everything through, and you need. Well, actually, let's take a look at the print head and see. Yeah, that's one of the things about this printer. It's just cool. So let's see. You need a pair for your thermistor, a pair for your heater, one fan, two fans, three fans, and then your inductive probe back there. So if you're counting along at home, because I am not, that's how many you need. And then you will need another four run to this carriage, your X carriage, for either your switches or your hall probe switch. So both will need 4 wires. You will need another 8 to the back of the gantry for your left and right, left and right, not left and right, left motor, right motor. You'll need 4 wires for each motor, so 8. So someone who's counting, how many is that? Just because I'm not, so I don't feel like it. Tool change. I'm not pulling my hot end off. Sorry, guys. I will show you what happens, though. I'm not pulling it all the way off because I don't feel like it. But if you take a look, actually, one sec. Let me flip over just to make sure I can see what's going on here, what I'm doing. So you'll see there is a screw here, right there. Another screw there. Focus. There we go. Focus. You pull those 2 screws, rock carriage forward, and you can pull it off. And then just unclip your connectors and put the new one on. And away you go. Simple. Then reverse the process, and you install your new hot end, tool carriage, etc. So duet versus clipper. This is one of those dogmatic things. Kind of blonde, brunette, redhead, especially now that we have the clipper level code in duet. Clipper has, from everything I understand, a far superior motion planner to duet. Now, that being said, my duet works pretty well, but I've seen people doing some really crazy speeds and really good prints with clipper. The other nice thing about clipper is it's cheaper. I mean, you can get away with it for 2 ramps, 2 Arduinos, and a Raspberry Pi. So what is that? Like 75 bucks, if that? Which means, 75 bucks versus, it's 120 last I checked just to get a duet, and then you gotta drop another 100 bones for a duex. So 200 something bucks versus 75 bucks makes life a lot nicer. There are some fine details that go into it, such as stepper driver selection, things like that. But it's I don't know. I go back and forth. I will probably have something with Clipper on it at some point, but part of the reason I'm waiting is because I want something with TriangleLabs drivers on it. I love the TMCs. It's just quiet, and that's cool because I'm sure you heard this printer moving. You can't hear it. This is quieter than my 2.1 or my 2.0, and that's saying something because the 2.0 was quieter than my 1.5, which once again was quieter than everything else I had. Part of that is due to the TriangleLabs drivers. All right. Yeah, if you've got a duet, use it. If you don't, buy a what's it thinger? Buy ramps. Buy ramps and do ramps or some sort of decent low end board. Insert board of choice here and a Raspberry Pi 3. And by board of choice, I mean obviously it has to be compatible with Clipper. Duh. And so install that and away you go. Let's see. While we are speaking on that drive, oh, I do. Ha! Got some history for y'all. This right here. This is a completely and totally printed 80-tooth pulley prototype from back in the day. Nothing else but plastic. Why didn't we use this, you ask? Because getting everything to lock up and lock in appropriately with this, good luck, man. It slips. It can freewheel. Even if you sink everything down, it's going to give you problems. So the other reason is torque. You can get a lot more torque with that assembly because you've got so many different interlocking parts versus that where it's just plastic on a small shaft. So Now, if you've got the all metal ones, I mean, if you, what is it, about $10 a piece these days for the all metal 82s? So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of goodness in Clipper, so I'm not dogging it or anything. If you said, hey, smoothie, uh, I would have called another one of our Canadian friends to, explain to you why smoothie is horrible and you should run screaming. Uh, but uh, you know, I have nothing. I have nothing I can say bad about Clipper from everything I've seen. It is what it is. Buy what you like. Uh, what else? Put that there for a moment and grab this. No, I don't need that. Oh, let's see. What else do we have going on here? Yeah, ask questions because you know you've got me until I get bored or whatnot. There's more stuff I can show you guys. I know. Uh, hmm, what else? One thing I'll note is if you have not bought your parts yet, go ahead and buy extra inductive probes. It's cheap insurance, and sometimes they will fail. I have seen them fail over time. It's just kind of one of those things. Sometimes you get a good one, it'll last you forever. Sometimes you get a bad one, and it'll crap out on you in a week and a half. Uh, we don't know what'll happen, so just keep an eye on it and be ready to replace it. That's the nice thing about the quick change tool head. It's you pull two screws and then you pull another four, unclip it, clip the new one in, and away you go. All right, so I don't have anything clever to show you right now, but let's see what else. What else? What else? What else? Let me put these back. Putting these back with the PIF parts I was doing, just so I don't forget them. Huh, that's another thing I need to print. All right. Do I have a monolithic Z drive? Maybe. Let me rummage. I don't think so. I think those all got rid of. But I'm checking. What I will show you guys though, and these are fun, and they're stupid. To some degree, they're stupid. It's, as I was mentioning, stupid printer tricks a little bit ago, where you can do silly stuff with filament swapping and everything else because you can. And I have a few examples of this that I did when I was screwing around with stuff. And the Paramount ABS sample pack is a ton of fun. Uh, it's on Amazon, it's on eBay. I fully recommend buying it just so A, you can see what colors they make, and B, just so you can have something silly to screw around with. But, so, do I have an original Mobius? I never printed off the original Mobius, like the original Mobius. And the little bit of history, the original Mobius was called the original Mobius because it had a belt that made a twist and turn. I want to say it was like a 90-degree turn as a part of the belt path. And so I saw it and I was like, it looks like a Mobius strip almost. So we're going to call it the Mobius. So speaking of stupid printer tricks, this is just you load filaments in, let it run out on the filament sensor, and then load in a different color. So like you've got this one, which is all John Deere going on. You've got green, yellow, and white. You've got this one here, which is red at the base, gray, and then yellow. This one here, which is fun. Let's see if we can get it focused. So you've got a red layer at the base and just like one layer of filament there. You've got blue, and then you've got green, you've got white, you've got black. This one here, which starts off yellow. You got a thin layer of white and some purple, red. Oh, I already did. And then this one here, which is one of Paramount's flesh tones at the base, and then a gray, and then a green. And as I said, you can just do silly stuff like this. So, just for the sheer giggle factor alone, I consider that filament sensor worth it. And also, it really makes life easy when you're doing long prints and things like that. Just, so you know you're not going to run out of filament during it. I do have other parts, though, that have been relegated to the sands of time that I will pull out so you guys can see. And also so you can kind of see some different colors going on, too. Because I did these in all various assorted colors and whatnot. Nope. Where is it? Yep. There's that. Oh, there's that. Yes, I am a pack rat when it comes to printed parts. Yeah, this one's just an example of a, stupid printer trick, once again. Gray and red. It looks cool. So, we've got this. This is a tensioning ring from the monolithic Z system. Then, you've got the other alternative to one of those, which was the full tensioner knob. One of these bad boys, which is actually even larger than the tensioner on the AB on the 2.1, or I'm sorry, the 2.0. And that screwed together with this. And if you think getting the tolerances absolutely smack on for the 80 tooth is painstaking, these things right here, yeah, man, these were a pain to get these all keyed together. This right here was the tensioner carriage for the monolithic Z. So this right here is what actually would be being tightened against to tighten up that belt system. So this is what was being used. And then this was a little bit on the filament heavy side, and it was basically a set it and forget it sort of thing. So we decided, by we, I mean RCF, and I was just kind of along for the ride, as I said before, we're going to try just a tensioner ring. And the tensioner ring works. Tensions up nicely, and, you set it and you forget it and it's done. But then we simplified even more because the monolithic Z's were massive. Actually, I might have part of one, and just various colors of those. There's that. I might have. I thought I saw it hanging around. I've got one piece from the monolithic Z. I actually threw away a lot of the prototyping stuff a couple of days ago, just because I was tired of staring at this giant box of crap in the corner of my kitchen. So, yeah, I got rid of most of them. But, so this, though, is one of the sides. Oh, that pile of plastic. It was easily. Well, let me put it like this. It was overflowing from a box that my shipment of dog food from Amazon. It's 30-pound bags. It was overflowing from a box that held that. This silver piece that I put up here, right here. This silver piece is one part of the Z base. This is just the tensioner part. This is where the motor bolts up to get slid around to tension things up. Just this. Then you had another piece here, about the same size, but then you had another piece sticking out at the base, like that. I remember it being, what was it, 24 hours of solid printing just for the tall part. And that was running, not asinine layer heights. Oh, I'll use this as an example. Stupid filament tricks. This is one of the master school for Phil Extruder, their filament. And so once again, I just pulled and replaced filament as we went. And yes, that is in a rainbow color because I had the filament for it and it makes me laugh. What can I say? I'm simple. Yeah, I don't have any of the massive ones. I checked. Sorry, guys. And we're going to see if someone can grab a photo of it, though. Because if we can, I'd love a photo of one of those just so you can see exactly how bad they were. And not when I say bad, it's just they were not elegant. They're not like we have them now. So much simpler. In fact, I do have a Z assembly there. This is the new Z assembly. These pieces, as you can see, much smaller, much more compact, much less filament used. That's it. That's all it is. And it's so much easier also to run the belts. So much easier to run belts with that. Let's see. What else? What else? What else? I'm sure there's something else you guys want to see. Oh, this is not the full box of Broken Dreams. The full box of Broken Dreams has been thrown away. But these were done at various points in the prototyping. And these were done in different colors and different shades. Some of them are current, some of them are not. Just, yeah. Oh, that's one thing that Paramount does really well. They have got a white ABS that is absolutely ghost white, like super white, and I really like it. It is not this kind of like yellowish stuff. This stuff is ice white, and I really like it. Sorry. Shameless, stupid, silly, whatever. I mean, you guys are the ones watching me, so what does that say about y'all, right? Okay, what else is there? I'm sure there's something. Well, we'll kind of dive into filament, I guess. Okay. This right here is Paramount's Iron Red. Oh, let's see if I can do this. All right, so I'm gonna see if I can do this. All right, this right here is Iron Red from Paramount. A very deep, saturated red, as you can see. There's that. Now, that is Enzo Red, and I will bring you a better close-up of that here in a second. What I have got, all right, here we go, Hatchbox Red. So this is Hatchbox Red, and it's this very muted, orangey, boring red. This is why I don't like it. Compared, I'm sorry, did I say Hatchbox? eSun. eSun ABS Plus. Sorry, my brain's dead. So you can see Enzo Red, ABS Plus Red. Enzo Red, ABS Plus Red. Just, it's so much more satisfyingly red versus that. And then to side by side it like that. I mean, if you're going to have a muted red, the Iron Red is just so much more pleasing. But the eSun ABS Plus is so much easier to print with. So there is that. You pay your money, you take your chances. Let's see if I can do this while I am actually streaming. I've got to see if I can add this as a source. That's just a pain. I don't know. Can I? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out if I can add this as a source. Let's see. Image. Okay. I'm going to try and add this because this is just cool so you can see it. put that in my Dropbox in there. That. And so I'm gonna do this. Sorry about that. I'm doing this live, and so yeah. If there's a better way to do it, I don't know it. You can tell I stream an awful lot, but so yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna bounce that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this fit here. We're gonna hide that image and reload it and see if I can make this work. All right. I guess not. I can't do it while it's streaming, it looks like. But yeah, that is one of the sides of the monolithic Z. But it's just big. It's large and it's in charge. Let's see what happens. Let me just get rid of that. Let's see. Yeah, and that thing right there. I mean, just think of how long it takes to print. It's just irksome. Did I break something? I broke something. Let's fix this. Yeah. Sorry, guys. As I said, I'm not a professional at this. So there we go. We're back to normal now, finally. All right. Let's see what we got. What do we got? So obviously it's important to make sure your wiring is done right, because if you get stuff backwards, you'll blow something out. I have seen a couple of dead ramp boards, a couple of dead clippers, dead ramps. I've seen one or two dead duets. Uh, what else is there? All right, guys, come on. Someone. I know there's something else that people want to see. I can't think of it at the moment. So, yeah, talk to me, folks. One thing I will mention is the idlers I have on my Z are actually not the latest and greatest. I had this 90% of the way built when a revised version was released that actually has an anti-rotation tab built into it. Let me go grab one of those so you can see. All right, so we're going to move that to that camera. There's that. That's one of the ones with the anti-rotation. Oh, and this is one of the ones without. So you can see it's the same body, but you've got this tab here. This tab sits up against your extrusion to keep your Z's from rotating. Simple. It sits up about like, we're going to do, come here, you. All right. So you see this one right here. There's nothing there. This would sit there in its place, and this tooth, this tab, would sit there and index against the crossbar to keep it from swinging around. Good stuff. And then I'm going to throw that, put this back before I forget to, and bad things happen. I don't think I finished my story about print it forward. So anyways, print it forward. Yes, I've got ADHD, squirrel. So print it forward came about, at least to me, because at the end of the day, I I I had to rely on someone else to give me my V1.5 parts, because the printer I had, a little printer rot play, died. And so I was halfway through and just was SOL. So someone else did them for me. And they were not great. And this is slightly charitably speaking. And they took care of me, and I got running with them, but they weren't great. I just wasn't pleased. Uh, and so as I got moving, I started helping people out with printed parts, and it it's always been my thing to make sure people get as good of parts as is possible for me to turn out, so that they can build something where the only thing I have to worry about is their ability as a creator. So that's why I take it so seriously. That's why I do what I do. Uh, yes, I do have some of the old tape chain mounts. I've got, I've still got old parts knocking around, and so yeah, part of the reason I was getting rid of stuff is just to make sure I don't accidentally, pollute any of my production streams with depreciated parts. So yeah, I finally sucked it up and threw them away. The magnetic end stop. Yes, the Hall effect end stop. That would be right over there. Uh, yep, that's the Hall effect board. And I got it. I like it. It's cool. So you don't absolutely have to have it though. If you are comfortable soldering and ordering boards and everything from whoever makes boards, you can order one and do it yourself. It's not hard from what I've been told. The FSR. I have covered that a little bit, but I can talk about it again. Let's see if we can do this. I need you to focus. Yeah, please. Yep, that's the FSR. I'm not going to pull it apart, but you can see you've got the connectors running off of that and just soldered on some wires that go to an interpreter board that is up under my coroplast. You can see that's what the little green light is. So that runs into that, and then that signal is sent back to the duet. Huh, and that's a loose connection. Let's solve this problem really quick. There we go. Crisis averted. You saw nothing. And as I said, it goes to a board. That board is actually an optical trigger, light sensor that triggers it. But all you do is you unsolder the light sensor, and then you solder in the FSR wires, and you're good. Yeah, the base compartment is my base compartment, how I've got it done with the added crossbar and the light. This is something a few of the testers and I have done just because we were swapping stuff out so frequently. We wanted something as an added reference point. So we have another set of extrusions to basically to act as kind of an anchor and a reference point. This is where we would mount our PSUs and everything else. And so we could mount different boards in, throw them out, test different fit patterns and the like, and go from there. The standard will be far simpler and far cleaner, and hopefully your wiring is better than mine, because I admit my faults and my failures, and wiring is one of my areas that I'm not great at. So yeah, there is a shot of the rear motor and the rear motor covers. And yes, this is the Zero fluorescent yellow filament that was available for a short period of time, that my accent colors are. The camera does not do it justice. It is eye-searingly bright. It's the yellow you've seen in my other parts. Uh, I do not use the rear exhaust. I have got just your basic, boring, black coroplast sheet that will get bolted up to the back when I get done with the stream tonight. I just wanted to be able to have everything around so I could get around to stuff and point as need be without having to deal with a back piece. Let's see what else is there. All right, there's other stuff I'm sure you guys want to know. But let's see. This is a Kinovo heater. This is a 750 watts, 120 volt heater mat with the integrated thermistor. If you use the integrated thermistor, go ahead and plan on having some time built into your start sequence to heat soak, because the thermistor is reading from the bottom here, not from the top where you're printing. And also remember that PEI is an insulator. So it's going to take a little while for this plate to get hotter or get to temperature. Yes, there's a 2.0 part for that fan, and actually, I have it right here. This thing right here. This bolts to the back extrusion. So say this is your extrusion, and this is the back. Like, so if your printer is facing you, and so I'm here, so this right here is the back, right? This goes like that there, and lets your Bowden tube through. And I happen to just have a, and this is bad Bowden tubing here, and it's a tight fit, at least for me. I would recommend taking a drill bit, cleaning this up, cleaning the hole up, I should say. It just makes life easier to install, which I haven't done yet, so mine's being difficult, but it basically feeds in at an angle, so then you're able to print, and away you go. And yeah, that's in the 2.0 files. It's filament guide, I want to say is what it's called. So the M3 screws are to fine tension. Yes, you really should get everything tensioned pretty close by hand, locking everything down. And then you just use those to fine tension, as I said. And inside those plastic pieces, part of the reason they're as durable as they are, you'd think, you know, a metal screw against a plastic part would be not as durable as you'd hope. But there is actually a bearing sitting up in there that gives you just some added strength. In fact, let me see. I've got that, the Do Not Be Me Kids example. I used a rubber mallet to seat that. And yeah, now I can't get it off. So this is one of the idlers from the Z. So you've got this, the 625 washer that fits. And this is, once again, this is one of those depreciated parts. This is why I throw these away. All right, let's see, is this a good one? Trying to rummage through my bad parts bin to see if I've got something that'll work. This is a recipe for success, let me tell you, kids. All right, I've got one I know works somewhere. But yes, you've got a bearing sitting in there really close to that surface, so it's not actually taking as much pressure as you would think. There we go. There's one that works. Amazing. So, there we go. So you've got actually this bearing here that's taking more of the load than you'd expect. So, there you go. Yeah, I think I'm using M3 by 16s in there. I can't remember what the spec is, but I'm using M3 by something there, and they work pretty well. Let's see. Hmm. The Z Idler's workshop. You're meaning the ones I was just talking about, right? Yeah. If you cut them too long, they do rub, so that's bad. it's not as bad as it could be because that rubbing there is, you've still got that pulley, and the pulley there, these things, we do switch cameras. So this pulley, come on, focus, focus, does not have the set screw installed. If it had focus, you could see. Yeah, the set screw is not installed there, so it can still free rotate around that shaft even if it's a little bit on the long side, and so that idler shaft is binding, but you don't want it too long. There is some tolerancing though, so you can see where you do have a little bit of give and a little bit of play. Uh, yeah, you can see you've got a little bit of slack or a little bit of space there, but not much. Yeah, 26, 27. I want to say up to a 28 will work, but that's going on memory. And, as I said, I'm a little bit brain dead tonight. It's just been a long weekend. Uh, oh yeah. If you've got an angle grinder, you can make a lot of stuff work. That makes life a whole lot easier. Just slap it on a grinder until it works for you. Call it good. Yep, exactly. There's a lot of places you can get away with stuff that's a little bit on the plus size, but that is one of the places you can't. And so, speaking of plus size and undersize, I mentioned it before, but your front idlers, if you get clicking from them, right here, it's likely you've taken too much off those shafts and when you put them in there, and so the pulley there is shifting along that shaft itself, kind of flopping around in there every time directions change. So yeah, no fun. There's one of the ones that I've just been too lazy to pull everything apart and shorten. Doesn't impact function at all, but it is aesthetically unpleasing. So yeah, go ahead and get yours all the same length if you can. That Molex connector you see sitting back there, kind of at an angle in the Z, that is the setup for my light bar. That runs up through that extrusion, the channel cover, that's what I was going to call it. The channel covers. Runs up through there, comes off that corner, and into this light bar. As I said, designed by the community was the light bar, and I am grateful to them for these because these are phenomenal. I really like what they do, and they're far better set up than what my 2.0 has, which is just one of these bars VHB to the back rail. This is just far more elegant and classy. This is a printer that demands to, have things be appreciable and, aesthetically pleasing. All right. The spacers under the build platform. Those spacers are to raise it up and also to give us room for the switch and whatnot. Uh, you don't want your heater resting straight up on the extrusions either. So, and on mine, just so you can see, they are MK8 hobbed gears. They just happen to be the right size. And they would actually be cheaper than the, what is it? They'd be cheaper than buying just a stainless steel spacer of the appropriate dimensions from McMaster-Carr. Uh, One sec. Yeah, you can use bearings. I mean, I've got a whole stack of 623 bearings that I could have also used for this. So whatever you feel appropriate. Someone PM me on Discord asking about my LED routing. So that is running there, and along there and then it goes and it shorts around like that. Well, not shorts, but it runs around and back under my bed there. So you see it goes to that corner, up, and the wire's hidden by the channel cover. You can see up, 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 and then out, and then like that. So there is a little bit of free hanging wire there, but not much. And it's tucked up so it's not going to interfere with anything. And then the same thing happens on the other side. And down the back extrusion, under the channel cover with the wiring, Molex connector, under there. And then it is on a header on my DuX, which is actually over here, which you can't see. So this is not a 90s, street racer, so I don't have neons in the underbed compartment. But it hooks into, each LED hooks into a separate fan header, and those fan headers on the DuX are thermostatically activated, as I said. So when I hit 45 degrees C, the lights come on. When I get below 45 C, they turn off. So I am using, for my extrusions, the channel covers, I called it, this stuff. And my camera's frozen again. 1 second here. We're going to do this, and we're back. There we go. This is channel cover. I want to say this is Open Build's version, but it works just fine on this extrusion. And it's just black plastic. You can get it in multiple meter segments, and you can see it has a channel down the center of it that you can use to route wires with. Purchased. Yes, I bought this. It was cheap though. It's really cheap stuff, and it's just aesthetically pleasing. You could, I hadn't thought of it, but you could use Tessa Tape to just cover up those extrusions, those extrusion channels, and it wouldn't look bad. I don't think. I mean, it wouldn't look as good, but I don't think it'd look bad. It'd look a hell of a lot better than just the cheap vinyl electrical tape that, turns gummy and useless if you look at it funny. Yeah, more things to buy. Yep. Open builds for those. That's all. Open builds is also where I got the really clean and classy, flat-headed, ultra low profile M5s that you see on my corner clips. There. If it'll focus. 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 Maybe. Close enough. And just as a comparator, once again, so on the right are the low profiles, and on the left is a standard button head. Let's see if I can do this. Nope. Not going to work. We'll do that. We will do that. Yeah, so the channel cover is nice. I bought a bunch of it at one point in time because it was on sale, and I'm just now coming to the tail end of that supply. Worth every penny. If aesthetics matter. If aesthetics are secondary and tertiary to you, hey, you do you, my friend. I am not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm here to tell you what may or may not work. But if you can figure it out some other way that makes you happier, bravo, drive on. Oh, yeah, you missed it. That was at the very beginning of things. That was at the very, very beginning. But just because you asked for it, here you go. And yes, that's a can of Aquanet. That's from way back when, back with some of the very first printers I've had that was working with ABS and trying to get it happy then. That was a misadventure in melting plastic. Uh, and I just haven't thrown it away. It just kind of sits there and gathers dust. Oh, all right. So I'm sure there's more you guys would like to know. So ask away. Let's see. We'll do this. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this. All right. So this is my front panel, and you see I've got the panel, the locks on and installed. And as I said at the beginning, these are just held on with VHB tape. So there's a strip of VHB tape you run right on that seam there, and it just sticks there, and away we go. Misumi does make slot cover. It was just more expensive, and Open Builds was on sale at the time, and I had money in my PayPal account, and Open Builds took PayPal, so it was kind of a no-brainer at the time. So Misumi's is probably better. They know their extrusion and they're building it for their extrusion versus Open Builds is intended for V slot. Sit. Sorry, talking to the dog. So yeah. All right. What else is there? So I guess I'll talk about some of the things that I see commonly asked. So when are these step files coming? I don't know. The short answer is I don't know. There are things that are a priority more than those right now, to be very honest. That includes getting the manual out. The manual is, the big hallmark thing that everyone loved about V1. And so that right there is what is being worked on now. I can say that comfortably. I don't know when the steps will appear. They may appear tomorrow. They may appear next month. They may appear next year. I can't speak to that. I don't know. All I can say is they will probably get released at some point in time. Dual extrusion. Dual extrusion, the issue with dual extrusion is either you wind up with a whopping huge tool head that you have servos and things moving around and whatnot, tool changers, which are cool, don't get me wrong, but you've got to account for this huge amount of space that they take up. Uh, or you're using a Chimera. And the Chimera has its own issues in that you have to have the nozzles perfectly leveled and offset, or else you're going to have nozzle strikes, which suck. Uh, or you're going to start running into drool issues. Basically, that nozzle stays hot, and unless you do whopping huge retractions, it's going to start just dribbling, filament little buggers everywhere, and that's just not cool. Uh, let's see, extruder fans. So the hot end fans. I'm using the legitimate Delta ones, which are 12 volt, but this is a 24-volt printer. Uh, since I'm running a Duet and a Duex, I have a 12-volt converter on board my Duex, so I'm just running those on 12 volts. Now, there is a 24-volt version available on AliExpress that people have had good luck with. I haven't used them personally, but I have heard people saying they work fairly well. Uh, the other option, depending on what your build is, you could try using 12-volt converters there. Down step from 12 to or from 24 to 12 volts, and go from there. It's GDS-Time is the maker of the 24-volt version of these 4010 blowers. Let's see. What else? Oh, direct drive. Uh, direct drive The extruder on the tool head. The big reason and the big attraction for those most of the time is flexible filament. Well, you can get away with flexibles with an M2, with a Mobius 2, or with a BMG, or some other extruder that is very, very tightly controlled for the filament on a Bowden setup. You just have to go slow. But then again, you have to go slow with most flexibles anyway. The other reason people like them is because they're afraid of retraction. They're afraid that they don't want to, or they're afraid to have too much retraction or whatnot. Uh, so I don't mind. And you know, the cost of a direct drive system is added weight on the tool head. That added weight means you have to print slower with lower jerks and lower accelerations, or else you wind up with ringing. So my opinion is that the 3DS way, that's the one who made it. Uh, yeah, so whatever Nero said to buy those. Uh, what was I saying? So you wind up sacrificing speed for the ability to handle flexibles a little bit better and less retractions. I get it to some degree. Now, if you're working primarily in flexibles, like if that's all you work with, that may change things some, I freely admit, because you probably want to go a little bit faster. But if you're just doing flexibles every now and again, it you can get away with that with the M2. You can get away with that with the BMG. So I would say before you go running and saying I want to make a direct drive tool head, uh, try try Bowden in this setup. Try Bowden in this instance and see what you think. I'm not saying it will be the answer. I'm not saying it's going to change your life, save your soul or anything else. I'm just saying that it works pretty bloody well for me, and it's worked really well for a lot of people. And I've seen flexibles done in a Bowden setup. So give it a wow. Give it a whirl. Give it a whack. See what happens. And then if you try it and it fails miserably, and the TPU just goes all over the place, and you wind up with a plate full of spaghetti, feel free to dog cuss me and then say, I'm going to design my own direct drive head. Design it and go on. Good on you, mate. Because I'm not a good designer. I suck at it, honestly. Uh, I'm sucking is actually being charitable. So, you know, as I said, try how it is set up first now, and then if you can improve it and you feel you can, do so, and then throw it to the community and see what everyone else thinks. It may be the next greatest thing. It could be absolutely horrible. And I'm not saying that as a ding against you, random anonymous internet designer here, because I don't know who is attempting what or whatnot. I'm just saying that it could work. It could be horrible, and a lot of that's driven by people's opinion. I mean, I'm sure there are people that would think that trying to level 4 points. Yes, this is, moving 4 points, which is, oh my God, over constrained. 4 points constrain a plane, yes, and it's over constrained, but it works. So, anyways, I digress. It's all a matter of taste. Blondes, brunettes, redheads. It's just that this is how this printer was designed and implemented and built, and you know we've had almost a year worth of feature creep between 2.0 and now. So we had to, stop somewhere. And this is where we stopped. And I will say that I'm pretty bloody well happy with it. You know, it is, this is far quieter, as I said, than my other printer, my 2.0. It is more intuitive to assemble than my 2.0 was. And it's more aesthetically pleasing. It's just cleaner. Uh, So yeah, I really think this is the way to fly. But that's enough of that diatribe. So what else? What else? What else? How the idler shafts for the flagpoles are, I want to say 50 millimeter long rods. that I just never bothered trimming down. I'm sure there's other things, other questions. Yeah, I'm looking at Discord. Someone made a comment that POWGE on Ollie ships slow. Yeah, transit times and everything do suck. It's one of those juggling immediate gratification from Amazon versus ship times from Ollie. You pay your money, you take the chances. TriangleLabs, I will say, speaking of AliExpress, TriangleLabs has very, very good products from what I've seen. I mean, they are clones of E3D, but you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference between a legit E3D and a TriangleLab clone. And so I have little problem paying the money that they ask for, say, their titanium heat break, or their Capricorn-ish tubing, or their heat sinks, or, their nozzles. About the only thing that they don't do that E3D does right now, to my knowledge, are the legit coated copper blocks, which I really like those, by the way. Those are really, really nice. Those blocks are phenomenal, just for, you know, print handling, and just, it seems to be more consistent with them. Maybe it's just the placebo effect, but I like them. Let's see what else we got. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if I had the ability to make an Ampco block for myself, I would do so. But I don't. So I bought these instead. And also, I vaguely remember having bought these way before you had your Ampco block. So it's more of a case of I wanted them then and I had the money at the time, so I did it. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Story of my life. Yeah, that's the story of a lot of misadventures. I was bored at work one day. Right, so it's about 9 o'clock my time. I'm gonna be slowing down, uh, probably here in a little while and just whatnot. But I'll keep answering questions if you guys keep asking them. Let me put it like that. Okay, yeah, stream's not frozen. Good. Actually, oh, oh, that's where I put my M5 low profiles. 1 second, I'll give you guys a shot of the screws that I keep pointing out, but actually, I'll give you a decent photo of them. Not photo, but actually, you will see them on video in a moment. Ah, all right. And yes, to whoever was hearing drink making, you were hearing drink making. Tonight's libation is a Negroni, a very classic uh, cocktail, one of the many that came about during the expatriate years in between the world wars. I believe this one is one of the many traced back to the Paris bar scene. It is equal measures: gin, vermouth, and Campari. It is a bracingly bitter drink. It is very summery to me, and we're at the tail end of that here in the South, so yeah, it seemed fitting. This is not a Negroni. This is an M5 ultra low profile. As you can see, very, very, very low profile on the head, versus this is an M5 button head. And let's see if I have an M5 socket head screw somewhere. I know I do. I just don't know where I put the bloody thing. Nope, that's not it. I had them at some point. I will find them and you will see them. But button heads look like mushrooms. Socket heads are just straight walled. If you're trying to discern the difference between them. Pretty much every M3 on the printer, aside from the tape chain anchor points, will be a socket head. Every M5, uh, except for the front idler ones, will be a button head or an ultra low profile. You need socket caps in the front idlers just to give your tensioning screw something to butt up against. Ooh. Yeah, the ultra low profiles don't have as much for a driver to bite into as a socket head. So I am not going to advise you to use them on, say, something where you're going to be putting a lot of torque. I'm using these pretty much just for my enclosure, just because they look good. But yes, I mean, there is no such thing as a free lunch. And so you can see there's just not much for that driver to bite into. So don't put these somewhere that you're going to be worried about, uh, having a lot of torque that needs to be placed there. Uh, so yes, these are 5x10s, and I've also got some 5x8s of these. Why is 350 the maximum for the Z? And the reason for that is basically you start winding up with this swinging mass going back and forth. Think of it as a reverse pendulum, where your mass that's moving is at the top and the anchor point is at the bottom. The longer that gets, the more sway you're going to get. So 350 really is the max for the printer the way it is designed, just because at a certain point, even 2020s, as rigid as they are, will start to flex. You could, theoretically, go to something like a 4040 or one of the L-profiled 20, I don't even remember what they're called now, but it's basically three 2020s set together in an L profile. And you could set something up like that to give you some greater rigidity if you wanted to go taller. Uh, but I mean, at a certain point, you're starting to look at, multi-day long prints, and it, that's a lot of printing. And the longer you print, the more risk you run of, something going wrong and, killing the whole thing. And, you haven't had wasted that time and that filament. I'm not saying that printing larger is not a good idea. I'm just saying that most people who think they need to print big are being drawn by the numbers and rationalizing the desire to print big, or rationalizing the specs themselves. And yes, it would affect stuff down low less than it would up towards the top of things. Theoretically, I'm not an engineer. I don't play one on TV. Didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So uh, it it will affect things more at the top of the print than the bottom. And yes, you can get away with a bigger Z than you can a bigger X and Y. I think honestly, if you're wanting to, chase the next thing, I would say speed is honestly where I would be looking at optimizing. Trying to optimize for speed, not optimize for build area. Uh, and yeah, I mean, when you've got 100 to 120 millimeter ZMax, you are pretty constrained. So you want to go bigger, and you think to go, you know, and yes, 350Z is a Nissan. Uh, you want to go, huge because hey, that Creality CR10 seems awesome because it can do 500 by 500 by 500. Yeah, but look at the thing that it flops around like a fish on the beach. Okay, uh, never mind. You have to have pretty much a closet to enclose the thing. Good luck working with ABS in that thing. Uh, but you know, honestly, having had, I've got a 320 by 320 by 300 now. I've got a 250 by 250 V2. Uh, it's honestly, the 200 to 250 range is pretty well a sweet spot. And I think a lot of people, as I said, are talking about optimizing for speed. Now, the 250 size is the minimum supported one. You could potentially get away with building a 200 one, a 200 by 200. And, if you did the right things, theoretically, have something that is an absolute speed demon. I mean, you could potentially do, say, a carbon fiber crossbar for your gantry. Uh, and, so that'll let you move up your speed in the Y direction because you're not throwing around as much there. Uh, you know, higher torque on your steppers and things like that. There's ways you could do, an absolute speed demon of a printer, and that'd be cool. Uh, but building a 500 by 500 by 500 rig, uh, I more power to you. I'll say it like that. And I mean, hey, if cost is no object, at some point in time, the V24 plans may appear, and build one of those, dude. And if you do, good on you, man, because that thing's friggin' awesome. All right. Realistic usage of bed sides given a slight offset for FSR and mounting tolerances. So for a 350, could you print XY safely? That's the thing. The way this printer is designed, every single millimeter of the print area is designed to be used. So if you spec a 350 by 350, that offset's already taken into account. That mounting stuff's already taken into account. It is, if you build a 350 by 350, you can get your nozzle to every single point on that print bed. This is not like some printers that have got those dead areas on either end that you can't hit. No, your nozzle hits everything. The reason we say don't print on the edge is thermal, because your heater isn't right up to that line. And even though aluminum's a really good conductor of heat, it's still slightly different at that point thermally than inside where that heater is lined up. So we talk about not printing on the edge because that thermal gradient and that thermal difference potentially can cause issues. I've seen it happen when I had a 300 by 300 plate and a like 200 by 200 heat mat on it, and I would see prints that if they bridged the gap, uh, for lack of a better way of putting it. If they were like, say, part of the print was on the heater and part of the print was not, the part that was on the heater would stay adhered, but the part that wasn't would start to lift. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Well, or not. All right, let's try this one more time. But I think we're live now. Let's see. All right, so audio is live. My bit rate is a little on the low side, it says. Let me set one more thing in OBS. Let's see. I'm going to unlimit the bit rate and we'll just see what happens. I've given OBS a pretty high target bit rate now. And it may just be my Wi-Fi not being happy either. But, so yeah. So what part of the print to the edge of the bed did I get to before you guys got cut off? Yeah, we do need a bobblehead or something. Let's see. Let's move to the iPhone 7 because that way you can see the table shake. All right. Yes, thermal gradient differences due to printing on the edge of the bed. Uh, so basically, the thermal differences between, say, let's call this right here, this area right here, defined by my fingers, as my friggin' phone froze. Really? All right. We will define this area here as the bed. All right. So I'm going to take this and put that there, 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 and there. So there's your bed, roughly defined, right? So with your bed defined as such, your heater area is, let's just call it there, and there, I said there, and there, and there. So you've got a smaller square in the center of that, right? So that slightly smaller square is where your heater's at. Now, when you have something that's in this kind of no man's land here, that no man's land is thermally different than everywhere else. And ABS in particular gets really cranky anytime thermals are not predictable. ABS is difficult because you have to have everything so consistent. Once you get consistent, ABS is great for what, if your needs fit its use case. It's just you have to have everything consistent. And that thermal edge, where the bed is not directly over a heater, leads to differences and lead to warping. So that's why where we're going with that particular thing. Does that make sense? Uh, so heat soak, enclosure, and insulation. Uh, all of those help for ABS, but sorry, I had to. I'm using a headset for my Bluetooth or for my text, and or not my text. I'm sorry, my audio here, and just had to pull that out of my ear for a second. Anyways, so heat soaking, yes, helps, but it's still slightly different. I need to. One day I will borrow my buddy's FLIR and actually see if I can get video of the bed heating up so you can see what's going on there. Uh, but once again, still thermally different. Uh, the enclosure will help, yes. Uh, and insulation, I haven't worked with insulating the underside of the heater and the underside of the bed. I don't know how much that would help. It seems like it would, but I don't have any data as to what it does other than it's there. So yeah, let's see. Is my nope, camera's still working. Sorry, I only have one screen, so I have to bounce between YouTube and whatnot. And yeah, there's about a 10-second delay between I say something or do something and you guys see it. And I don't know why that is, but it's there. All right, let's see. So, what else can I answer for you guys? Uh, as I apologize for having to drop out a couple of times. I don't know why that happens. It didn't happen before when I was doing this on even more of a shoestring than I am now. I've actually got proper lighting in this live stream and proper cameras and everything else, and it's decided this is what's going to be cranky. So, yeah. Sorry about that. All right, so first off, can you use HTPLA plus? So, the short answer is you do you, homie. The long answer is it's still not thermally capable. All right. I mean, the general rule is build your parts out of the material that you're going to be printing in because that's the thermal stresses it's going to be exposed to. So, if you're only going to be printing in, PLA, you might be able to get away with printing and, building your stuff out of PLA because PLA is actually fairly rigid. So, you could get away with some decent mechanically strong pieces if you knew what you were doing. But you look at them funny with any sort of heat around them, and they're now a puddle of soup. And then same with PETG. PETG. Actually, one of the best examples of it. I wish I'd kept them, but I threw them away. I have a V1.5, or had a V1.5 that I had the bed carriage made out of PETG on, and actually you could see the screw that was the bed mount, which was under spring tension on that particular design, was starting to pull the nut through the PETG. So my bed level would start wandering, and then eventually it pulled it all the way through. So I couldn't level that corner at all. Uh, and then, uh, so yes, it, if you want to, sure, but I'm telling you now, you're in for a bad time. So this is not me trying to be some like absolutist, purist, or anything else. When I say you really want to do X, it's because I don't want you to come back and say, well, I did Y, and it's absolutely horrible, and I hate you, and it sucks. And, but dude, we told you to do it this way. We're trying to save you from yourself. We really are. Uh, so, as far as print it forward, what are the requirements for that? The requirements aren't some secret voodoo or anything else. I'm not trying to be secretive about it. It's very, very simple, honestly. Uh, you get a working 2.1 and you demonstrate that you have a working 2.1 to me. And that's done by posting on Reddit and earning a serial. Once you have a serial number, you send me a PM on Discord and say, hey, look, I want to do print it forward for people. I'm based in wherever you are, the United States, Canada, France, Mexico, Buenos Aires, insert geography here. And I say, okay, that's cool, dude. So I need to see some pictures of parts you've produced. And so I'm going to tell you certain parts that I want to see. Generally speaking, I need to see an 80 tooth gear, uh, or 80 tooth pulley, assembled and unassembled. Uh, and if you can do video of you assembling it, like I did earlier, that really helps. Because that right there is one of the most tricky and demanding parts to do. Uh, so I want to see that. I usually want to see the XY joints. Uh, and then there's one or two other pieces that I'll want to see. And then I'll talk to you to see what your grasp of the logistics of fulfilling this is. Because printing it is, time consuming, but actually the logistics of fulfilling orders and what your thought process is on tracking orders and fulfilling orders and things like that, that matters too. Uh, and so that's the process. It's not, I'm not trying to be a super hard ass about it. I'm just wanting to make sure that it's, you're able to meet the need, but at the same time, the people who are being delivered parts by someone who's considered vetted are parts that are up to the standards of the community. Uh, so that's that there. Uh, does that make sense? Yeah, and as I said, it's a lot of this is based on my own experience, and uh, I'm to the part where, or to the point, I should say, for logistics for me, like I've got a printer loaded up with just shipping labels, and I've got boxes, the USPS flat rate boxes. Well, actually, I don't even use flat rates anymore. I use regional rates, and I know vaguely what they are going to weigh, so I have a idea within a dollar or two how much it's going to cost to ship. And I'm also, for print it forward, I've got the plates that need to be printed standardized so that I just, hey, I know I need to do plates 1 through 10. And these are numbers made up, by the way, because I don't know exactly how many off the top of my head because I'm not on my main computer that has all those on them. I just know I need to do X, Y, and Z, and then I need to load up accent filament and do 1, 2, and 3. I need to put it in a box, get a shipping label, get paid via PayPal, and away we go. And also, here's the other thing. Uh, what someone who is doing print it forward chooses to charge another person is between the printer and the purchaser. I do not interject, intercede, or anything else. What you do is on YouTube. So someone could theoretically be charging $100 for a set of parts. Now, I would be a little bit cranky with that person if they were charging $100 for a set of parts. However, it's not on me to decide that. There's a great variety of factors that go into it. I would just say talk around. If someone gives you a number that seems unreasonable, uh, just ask. Send me a PM. Send anyone whose name is in orange or purple on Discord. Send them a PM and just say, hey, look, Bubba wants to charge me $100 for a set of V2 parts, or V2.1 parts, I should say. And, it's not even including the skirts and everything else. And, you know, depending on the state of the economy and where they are and everything else, we'll tell you, hey, that's actually really reasonable. Or we'll tell you, yeah, he's high by, $50, and also what is he high on? Uh, so there's that. Uh, I'm not trying to say that everyone has to charge the exact same amount because everyone's situation is different. Because I mean, your time is worth a little bit. I don't value your time as much, but your power is worth something. The filament you're using is worth something, and so it all depends. But I'm I'm not trying to be sneaky about this. I really want what's best for the community here, and that's why I have taken the lead on print it forward and not just kind of let it be a thing. And also, here's another thing. Print it forward And the vetting process is just for people who want to be vetted, which means they are the face of the community for printing it forward. Now, that being said, if you choose to have someone print your parts for you who is not a vetted print it forward person, that's on you too. You can certainly do that. I mean, if your buddy has a Mark Forged, whatever their printer is called, I can't remember honestly, and you want to do them out of, carbon fiber infused nylon and pay whatever it costs to do that, and he's not a vetted print it forward member, dude, that's cool. Go for it. If you want to take these parts and go to someone and they've got a Fuse 1 from Formlabs and do these out of SLS nylon, hey, cool. That's really cool, actually. Just because they're not a vetted print it forward member doesn't mean you can't do that, and you don't need to feel guilty about that. It's just the people who are vetted print it forward members are people who are taking on the responsibility of being the face of the community and growing the footprint of this particular design. So that's something to keep in mind. And I realize that turned into, a rant and a dialogue, or a monologue actually. But, you know, that's really where my head's at. All right, Doc's going through the XY idlers. All right, yeah, I can do that. Give me a second. Logitech camera. Carlos, which side? Left, right? And when you say XY idlers, you mean the gantry joints? Right side. All right. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to do this really quick. I'm going to turn some lights back on. Hold, please. That part closer to the front idler or the middle bit? Okay, front idler. All right. So, let's see. Sorry, trying to resort to stupid tricks to get this thing to focus. Turn it on some light too. Let's see. As you can see, I have a clean shot down that where there's nothing really moving or binding and rubbing. So maybe you need to tighten that up a little more. Uh, but that's without seeing uh, that exact part there. Give me a second. Let me switch to a different camera, or at least try to. Oh, the Z belt going through that? Okay. Give me a second. Yes, I do not have a set screw on those. Those can float. That's no problem. And yes, theoretically, at some point, the aluminum pulley on a steel shaft, there will be a wear issue. When that will be, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it will be a point after we've already rebuilt things to replace them. All right, let's see if we can get a decent up in that shot. The 3.0 is going to be the SLS 5-axis mill combination that also includes a hair dryer and cat washer at the same time. All right, let's see. I'm going to do that. Let's see if we can get a better angle. Is that a better angle like that? I'm trying to figure out the best way to shoot this for you. I don't have any rubbing. And is your rubbing left to right? So, or in the front to back rub? I mean, the hole is tight. Let's see, one sec. Rubbing on the left side, so the part of the belt that moves. Okay, so the belt, your belt is, so that's actually a better angle for that, I think. Maybe, if I can get it to stay like that. All right, let's see. Sorry, the hard part of this is trying to find an angle to actually get the shot for you. Yeah, I do have a gap. Actually, here, I can do this. Let's see. Yeah, the Z drive is fixed. That's one of the things I kind of went into when I was talking about the skirts and whatnot. Uh, I'm trying to think how best to show you what you need. I need to show you, Carlos, and I apologize that I'm failing miserably at that. But yes, I do have a gap on all sides of that. And it's just really hard to frame that so you can see it. Short of, well, let's see, maybe. I'll try something really quick. Let's see if I actually. No, that's not going to work. Sorry, I was trying to see if I could shine light up through it to give you a better view. Yeah, I know. The blinding, 100 lumens that an iPhone light puts out. I mean, I can go break out something's got 1,000 some odd lumens coming through it, but. All right, yes. What is the shorter extrusion. So, Andy, the extrusion that you cut down on the V2 is the front extrusion, and that is what gets turned into the rear extrusion on this back rail. Let's see. Gotta move back to OBS. So that rail you see right there that at the back, that was formerly your front crossbar. And so you pull it from the front, we're putting it in the back, and it has to be cut down to do that. And hey, it's my live stream. I can lumen shame if I want to. And one of the nice so this is coming from someone who jumped in on a V2 and started building one of those right when they were first announced. Like if I had actually taken the time to follow the rules and apply for my own or for a cereal, I would have something in the single digits, but I just never did. Uh, Honestly, the big annoyance with a V2 versus a 2.1, there's two of them. The Z idlers and that front crossbar. That front crossbar is a pain in the rear for removing prints and everything else. You have no idea how much nicer this rear crossbar is until you've actually worked with it. Yeah, and the crossbar, the cut, I mean, you have got, you know, hacksaw level of accuracy required for that. It's not super, tolerance sensitive. Uh, I went ahead and ordered mine from Misumi because I needed two or three of them, and it was like $4 or $5 per. But since you don't have to have them tapped or anything, so I went ahead and did it because I'm lazy, and I was also ordering another bag of their short T-nuts because I like them. But it's totally on you. You can easily hacksaw it and just be sure to measure 3 times, cut once, that sort of thing. Yeah. Don't trust someone else's measurements and someone else's math. It uh, it will end in misadventure. Uh, it will end in you cutting something too short and then having to order a new one from Misumi. Uh, Trunk, let me guess that you cut it too short and had to basically get a new one. And also, this 10-second delay is a little surreal, by the way. I think I said by the way twice. Whatever. It's about that time. Loctite sticks. I'm not getting paid for it. I don't care. I still like them. Do what you do. Oh, yes. And because every YouTube streamer has to have the cutting mat, ain't none of them got the MZ bot cutting mat because we fancy up in here. So I do not have dampeners on my A and B. You noticed it, and I admit to it. You're supposed to have dampeners on there, but I sort of only ordered 4. And I didn't want to wait for more to come in, so I went ahead and built mine without those. You got me. Yes, you're supposed to use dampeners there. It's really quiet, even without the dampeners. But the design is to use dampeners there as well. So I've got a feeling it's going to be even quieter if I had my dampeners installed. And yes, MZBot is no longer a thing. long live MZBot. And the new hotness, as you've all seen, because you probably have the files for it, is Voron Design. And same DNA, different name. Uh, and yeah, theoretically it does make it stiffer, but since you've got the belting connecting things and it's not directly connected, so once again, going back to the belting, so since you've got the belts that link the motor to the drive system and it's not directly connected, it's it's not as big of a deal as you think. But once again, I just didn't have the dampeners in hand, so I decided I would sacrifice a little bit of noise in the favor of expedience. Yes, MZBot lives in the GitHub repo, and this is not my story to tell, so I won't tell it. But there are reasons for the change, and that's all I will say. Uh, RCF, it's kind of alluded to it on Reddit, but that's all I'll say. Just be thankful that 2.1 is where it is now, and there are reasons it took as long as it did, and that's it. And if you ask me to say more, I'm gonna say I can't say anything. And I am just sitting here refilling my ice cube tray and waiting for you guys to populate more questions, and I will answer them when I come back to my computer. That's one of the really nice things about having a wireless headset. Uh, I know for some of my like non-live videos that the audio is a little on the lacking side, and I apologize for that. I need to work on really balancing that better. But for times where I'm doing a live stream, it really, really helps me to be able to not be tied to something. So I can go to the other room and grab a sack of parts and pull something out of it and be able to speak to what's going on and bring you back examples and everything, as opposed to, having to unclip a lavalier and everything else. So I really do hope the audio is good for you guys. If it is lacking at all, let me know, and I will attempt to figure something better out. But it's one of those things. It's This is one of those labor of love sort of things that I'm just doing because I try and I can. But all right, let's see. Start a print. Uh, okay, so here's one thing to note. My tape chain setup is a little bit on the atypical side. I will freely admit that because I was assembling this in a transitional period. At one point in time, the tape chain design uh, involved punching through the tape chain, screwing a screw through it, and that's what locked it down. And that's what you'll see on mine. But give me 1 second here. Actually, I need to do start a print. I will. What will I print? Let's see. Sorry, I'm sitting here multitasking, and streaming is one of those things you really need to have multiple monitors running, it seems like. And I'm only on my laptop, so I have to like bounce windows and everything. Ah, crap. Sorry. Sorry. All right. So, uh, all right. Give me 1 second. I'm going to give you some visuals of the tape chain, and then I pull the camera off because you're supposed you really need to let this heat soak, and I haven't. So we're gonna kind of improvise it a little bit, but we'll try. Ready? Break. All right. Glad we had this talk. So I do not have a middle anchor point on my tape chain on the crossbar. I should. I just haven't installed it. And I haven't had a problem with it yet, but I do have an end mount point here. Also, I am spooling everything up to start printing, and the fan just started spinning that up. But anyways, there's that. So that runs there up this support, and that connects there. And what I've done on mine is I've punched a hole through that tape, but as opposed to using a screw, I just used a zip tie and zip tied through a hole in that tape, and around we go. And you can see the fuzzy stuff. That is the Tessa tape. That is awesome stuff. Get you some. Tape chain goes around and to the back. And so it anchors there on that one. And you see a zip tie there. And then those go around. And yep, we go. And those go around. And into that wire bundle there. And around and down and across the line. And into the base compartment where it goes there. And the silver thing you see is a Meanwell LRS 224. Yep. And then you see the DuX, which is the board closest to me, the Duet itself, or the Duet, or whatever accent you want to use to call it whatever you want to call it, is further in. So let's see, can I get any closer? Not really, so we'll back off. So there is that. Let's see what G code I have on this board. I don't really have much loaded yet to it. Well, I'll need those anyways. Yeah, I'll need those. All right. So let's see. Let me. Now, first, I'm going to bounce to YouTube. Interesting print failures. So my 2.0, I have rebuilt several times before seeing failures like in prints. Like I noticed things starting to go, and I preemptively rebuild. Uh, so I think the most interesting one is when one of the printed idler pulleys cracked and like failed during a print. So that Z corner dropped, and that was a bunch of plastic that got thrown away. Uh, Otherwise, though, I the thing actually that delayed me getting moving, really with this 2.1, it took me a little bit to rebuild, was I had a couple of bearings that were actually bad, that were causing some binding in the XY. And it would move okay, but if you actually watched it in movement in a diagonal, you would see it stutter. And what it was is that binding would cause a click, and that little bit of bind would lead to what could be also viewed as inconsistent leveling. And so I went down the road of messing with my Z for a while when I should have been rebuilding my XY. And so I rebuilt my Z, still had the issue. Rebuilt my XY and solved the problem. So this is why you don't trust your first instinct when you see something wrong with a print. What I really suggest is when you start seeing something go wrong, start looking at actually look at the print head and put it, if you have a smartphone or anything else that can do slow motion, video that print head's travel in slow motion and see what happens, because it is supposed to be a smooth, continuous movement, and this was not. Let me actually, 1 second here. I'm going to try. And I'm not too proud to admit that I have had, you know, my fair share of print issues. There are, you know, things that I have done wrong. And part of the reason I'm good at noticing what's wrong is because I've been really good at breaking stuff. And if you get good at breaking stuff, you have to get good at fixing stuff. So give me a second here. I'm actually, this is one of those things you'll see if you'll only really see this if you're part of the live stream. I've just linked a unshared video in the chat, and that's actually the movement of a print head, or of this print head, when things were an issue. My tool suggestions read like an engineer. Well, I'm not an engineer. I'm a pharmacist. So basically, I'm a chemical engineer that works in medicine, and at least until I went into consulting. So now I'm a consultant, which means I basically tell people what to do. Uh, so yeah, I appreciate good tools. I appreciate everything that goes into good tools, and I know that good tools make life better. This is from this hobby as well as others. All right, let's see. So I'm trying to figure out where to best put this camera so you can watch a print kick off. Let me see, let me see, let me see. Because also I would like to seal up the front because the back's open. I don't want to put it that close to the bed at 100C. I know. There is a reason I've been keeping all these empty old eSun spools. I know. Ha! Science. All right. Workshop. I worked in retail for a while, and then I went into being a clinical pharmacist, and then uh, found other paths as well. Yes, retail pharmacy can be a total drag. It's honestly one of the better paying paths in pharmacy, but the suck factor is real at times. It's one of those things. There are people who love it, and I respect them for that. It was not for me. So you can I as I'm sure you guys saw, I put the panel in place. Actually, is that on the front? No, that's on the inside. So all the scuzz on the glass is on the inside, and I'm not pulling it back to clean it up. Yeah. And calling it close is minor in the grand scheme of things, honestly. I've had worse. Trust me. I could tell stories about retail pharmacy, but I'm not going to bore you guys with that. So, I will go ahead and kick off a print of the Mobius parts. And so what you're watching now is I have my printer set to do the leveling and homing routine before every single print, just because the added time is cheap insurance. And so the gantry was already leveled uh, prior to this, so it's not going to move much. But it's just one of those things I'm doing for perspective's sake. But also, once again, I level between and before. Let me rephrase. The leveling routine kicks off every time I tell a print to start. And that's just because I want to be absolutely sure that everything's properly done before a print kicks off. So you can see the head dancing around doing its thing. You're not going to really see, especially since it happened so quickly, any adjustment going on, since this was already in line. And I'm not going to knock the gantry out of whack to have it re-level. Uh, but it is very noticeable. And I will say for you Duet users, I know we linked it somewhere. I just can't remember where. I apologize for not being able to give you more specifics. Uh, but there is a version of RepRap firmware that has RCF's leveling code put into it. And so that right now, you just saw the nozzle do its probe of the, uh, not probe, I'm sorry. You saw the nozzle doing the offset calculation. And we're going to barehand this. All right, so I lied. I am going to clean this off. 1 second. The things I do for you people. So yes, this is where I will do the typical YouTuber screed of please click like, share, subscribe, and comment, and buy stuff from my affiliate links, and I don't know, whatever else the latest YouTube persona is. I mean, what am I supposed to do? G'day, it's Stu here, and today we're going to talk about whatever. Yeah, no. That's one thing with this particular printer. Even though it has a larger print area, this thing actually comes to temperature and returns to temperature faster than my V2. And I attribute that to the bed itself having more thermal mass. So it's a 320 by 320 bed as opposed to a 250 by 250. So it just stays hotter longer. But I also, the hot end comes to temperature faster because I'm running 24 volts here as opposed to 12 volts. And the 24 volt really is noticeable. It is both quieter and faster to respond thermally. And so what you're seeing print is this right here is actually one of the filament intakes. Let's see. I'm just checking Discord to see if there's anything interesting going on, and there is not. There is that I can close. Are you wanting to hear the print itself or hear me better? Oh, I do not actually have a mic mapped to any of the cameras. I've only had it mapped to my Bluetooth headset. So, uh, since I don't like screw with anything else, I'm not going to try and map one right now. But over the next few days, I'll see about setting up a camera in a more permanent spot to have a live stream of stuff printing going with this rig once I get it bolted back together. I will say, honestly, any fan noise you hear is my laptop, if you hear anything at all, not the printer. Uh, this printer is quieter than my 2.0 by leaps and bounds. And yeah, uh, actually, let's see. So where's the microphone? The microphone is. I'm gonna put the headset up against the panel here. And can you guys hear this? Oh, son of a bitch! All right, we're back. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi shitting it, or my laptop, or YouTube, or what. But, all right. Y'all wanted to hear how loud this is, so I'm going to put my headset against the front pane. And so the first layer I do is done at about 30 millimeters a second. Kind of slow. Really slow, actually. Uh, so hold on a second until the next layer kicks off, and I'll move it again. Whoop. Oh yeah, this is easily the quietest printer I've ever owned. Which is saying something, because I thought the 2.0 was quiet. Yeah, it's hard to capture everything that's going on with this. Let me see if I can really quick, though. I will try. I am totally doing this like on the fly, by the way, so I apologize. All right, I have just added in the Logitech Camera, so my audio, if you hear me talking now and it sounds different, that's because you're hearing me from the Logitech Camera and not the Bluetooth headset. And I will also say that the fans you hear are my laptop, not the printer. So, yeah, and I can't hear what you guys are hearing, honestly. And I don't know why I have my headset in now, since I'm not recording audio on it. But, and it's not the PA, because I'm not actually running PA right now. And now we're on layer 2, by the way, so now you can actually see where things start getting speedy. By the way, are the levels too high when I'm talking and whatnot? I can rebalance things. I honestly don't know what this audio sounds like from this camera. So as far as speeds go, I'm doing 100 millimeters a second for infill. I want to say 70 millimeters a second for perimeters, and then 40 millimeters a second for the outside perimeter. I'll need to double check that in a slicer, but I think that's right. I'm very close to whatever Volcom runs on his speeds. So take that for what you will. I'm going to do one thing really quick, so you don't have that glare in the top left corner. Actually, let me see what it looks like when I do that. So now the only lights you guys are seeing in this print area are just the LED bars. I've actually turned off all the lights in the kitchen otherwise.
so you can see exactly how much of a difference that makes. Yeah, the enclosure panels do make reflectivity and everything an issue. It's one of those things, and also they track fingerprints badly. But I mean, honestly, I built this to be a workhorse and not to be, you know, something that's photogenic, even though it really, really is. I mean, I don't know. And I am working right now. This is ABS Plus. I bought a case of ABS Plus a couple of weeks ago, direct from Int Servo, who is eSun's US distributor, just for print it forward purposes. So what I've been using to clean polycarbonate, honestly, is rubbing alcohol, the exact same stuff that I use to peel stuff off the print bed, and a blue shop rag. Or if you want to be fancy, yes, glass cleaner and a microfiber. Well, if you're not supposed to use isopropyl, well, I screwed up. I use isopropyl for everything. Yeah, you will scratch them up. It's just a fact of life. I hate it. My V2's panels are scratched up all the hell and back. But, yeah. Yeah, I don't do denatured trunk. I use 90% IPA, which, I mean, let's be honest, same. Yeah, I'm waiting to kick into the infill layers because those are always fun. This is going to be done at 40%, and it's going to be cubic infill. So you're not going to get all the funsies of gyroid, but at least in Simplify 3D. In Simplify 3D, fast honeycomb was actually still slower then they're grid and cubic infill. Not grid, I'm sorry, triangular for them. And not by a small factor either. It was pretty big how much slower fast honeycomb was. So I moved away from it just because it seemed to offer nothing really that I needed for my prints. Yeah, it's not cubic, it's grid, or I can't remember what I went with, but it's something that's not honeycomb. Basically, the honeycomb ones are super slow, and then everything else that's basically straight line infill, just the pattern that the lines are drawn in is different, are all pretty comparable speed-wise. So, honestly, I've been using Slick 3R, the latest and greatest Crucio edition, and it's been doing pretty good by me. Cura I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just salty because Cura back in the day with how it would handle first layer stuff was just annoying as hell. Like, do one perimeter for each individual part that needed a perimeter before coming back and doing the second perimeter and then the third perimeter, as opposed to just doing all three perimeters at once. Just annoyed me, amongst other things that Cura did. So I've just been loath to dive back into that one. But Slick 3R, really, Slick 3R, I really like. It does everything I want, and my main complaint used to be about Slick 3R that slicing was slow. Well, here's the thing. Turn on Z-Hop, and Z-Hop, 2 to 3 layer heights, and tell it to not avoid printed parts since you're hopping so much, and print is still fast. And holy crap, the boss man is here. Everyone hide, guys. And yeah, I'm still going. I'll keep going as long as you guys ask. I mean, I'll keep talking as long as you guys keep giving me something to talk about. I've got nothing else to do until about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Let's see. Let me bounce over to that tab. Alright, so we're about finishing up layer 3 right now. And I'm doing 5 top and 5 bottom layers. So we got a little bit longer until you get to the fun part of watching the infill kick off. Yes, well, that's the thing. So the left side that you can't see is normal. The right side is the jacked up one, and I just don't feel like pulling the whole assembly down to put a replaced shaft in it. And that's so close to the wiring, I'm not going to take a Dremel to it and try and trim it up, live and in place. It's kind of hot swappable. It's not fun to do, let's be honest. I mean, hell, I hot swapped the front idlers. And yeah, it's doable, but I would rather not. Yeah, but you're probably also not printing right now, and you are also not live streaming it too. So I at least have that going for me. And also, I'm watching the chat, and I'm watching the print in the window with YouTube. So I have no clue if chat is tied to the timestamp on the print, or if it's running at its own time scale, because the video is about 5 seconds behind what's going on right now. Oh yeah, and I have that. I haven't installed it because I've got the back plate off. When I get done with this stream, the back plate's going on, and the extrusion covers are going back on. As far as PEI sanding, when it comes to PEI sanding, this is a fresh sheet, so it has not been sanded yet. My general rule is I will leave it be until it starts being cranky. And I don't sand. I use a green Scotch-Brite pad, which is a little gentler than sanding. And I do that probably once every 20 or so prints. So I'll scrub it down with a green Scotch-Brite pad, spray it down with rubbing alcohol, wipe it clean, let it dry, spray it down again, wipe it clean, and go to town. So that's my procedure. It works for me. Could it be psychosomatic and placebo effect only? Totally. Yeah, and whatever Max says, yeah, that's gospel. I'm just some dude screaming in the wilderness. 0.25 millimeter is okay in my book. The issue you run into with thin PEI is that it is a little more fragile. So you just need to be careful pulling crap off. So, I mean, wait for the bed to get cold, spray it down with rubbing alcohol, and maybe use a razor blade at a corner of something to pry it off. And you're good. You know, the other thing is when you put it down, be sure to put that PEI sheet down and like really adhere it. You know, use a a rolling pin to really get it on there flat, or one of those rollers that you see Max using, and you know, because he's all fancy like that. I just freehand it and call it good. Just don't try and pull stuff off the bed when it's hot. That's where you kill and you bubble your PEI. And yeah. Alright, let's see. We are wrapping up layer 4, so layer 6 is where the infill kicks in. So one more layer and then we get to the fun stuff. Oh yeah, if you can get 0.8 millimeter stuff, go to town, dude. So for PEI and the United States, there is a company, Prozix, Prozix. You'll find them on Amazon and eBay. They are really good about PEI. Actually, that's whose PEI I'm running on both of my printers right now. Good stuff, reasonably priced. If you've not worked with PEI before, it's pretty easy to trim with a razor blade. So just, if you have, say, a 250 bed and they don't make a 250 sheet, buy a 300 and then just take a razor blade to it and trim it to size. Use the bed itself for a cutting guide and you're good to go. CS Hyde, and Hyde being spelled Hyde, they're also a United States supplier for PEI. They're more expensive than Prozix, but they give you more options. You pay your money, you take your chances, really. Both of them, though, provide what, to my knowledge, and I'm not a materials engineer, so take it for what you will, that they both provide legit PEI that already has the 3M adhesive already applied to it. Now, I would not suggest heating the heater before applying it. That's just me, because that just seems sketchy, yeah. And it never would have even dawned on me that a local plastic supplier would have had that. I mean, you can get a 420 millimeter by 420 millimeter by 0.8 millimeter for $50. Yeah, dude. All day long. I mean, the adhesive, though, is pretty cheap. I can get behind, like, sticking it in the oven, like a reasonably cold oven or whatnot, or a heat gun. I could get behind that, but just, like, turning on the heater before trying to slap it on, that's asking for so many problems, it's not even funny. Loose AC freaks. This is not like Craigslist personals, dude. We're trying to keep this family friendly and everything. What, Craigslist personals? Yeah, no, dude. No. Look, just assume it was a joke that went over your head that was something that probably isn't family friendly and go from there. Just trust me. Oh yeah, man. This thing absolutely books in travel moves. It's sort of silly. And I honestly think I could probably move my travel speeds up faster on this rig. I really do. I haven't tested it yet, but I mean, maybe even 4? I could probably hit 400 with this one, with the Gates belts. Alright, one more layer and then we get to the infill, which is the really fun part. And the click you hear is actually coming from the extruder, not the printer itself. Yeah, the fans aren't rattling yet. Oh wait, no, we're on the layer where we kick into infill. The like whine and everything you hear is my MacBook in the background, like struggle bussing. I have not worked in any exotic materials, so I can't speak to, like, you know, what Max just said with 295 and Palm. Nope. ABS, and that's about it, really. I'm bored. What can I say? You want fancy stuff, go to Volcom. And so yes, we're on the, you know, infill layer, so you get to see this thing going buck wild with infill speeds. Yeah, Polycarbonate. Volcom is actually doing a lot of good stuff with the carbon fiber polycarbonate. I can't remember who he sources his through. I want to say Pryline. But yeah, he's just put in a steel nozzle and go to town with that stuff. Oh man, it's amazing what you can do when you get to materials other than just PLA. I mean, it really opens up a new world, because PLA is great for, like, you know, random shelf trinkets and everything, but nothing really functional, at least in my opinion. If someone can prove me wrong and, you know, can show me things that are useful in PLA, I'm open to learning. I'm open to being wrong. But everything in PLA I've done has just been a shelf trinket. Everything in ABS I do is actually real world useful stuff. So how do I deal with ABS smell since this is in my kitchen? So part of it is I'm working in ABS Plus, which does not stink nearly as much. The other part of it is that my kitchen is very, very open, and I actually have an exhaust vent that you can't see kind of close that's pretty much always exhausting out of the house. So I'm cheating a little bit. The other side of it is that normally my printer is fully boxed up and it's enclosed and does not have an exhaust fan in it. So all the funk gets trapped. And I run the printer and it runs and then it finishes the print and then it comes down, to room temperature. And so by the time I pop the box, most of the particulates will have settled on the enclosure. I mean, it's not perfect, but that works to minimize a lot of it. So the short answer is use good ABS, and smell is not as big of a problem. ABS Plus isn't bad. Paramount stuff isn't bad. I will say Paramount's red filaments have this smell almost like ozone coming off of them. I don't know what it is, but it reminds me of ozone. Make Shaper isn't bad, but it's a little cranky as far as warping goes. I've not used Atomic stuff, so I don't know how Atomic is as far as stink goes, but I know that there are several people who swear by Atomic stuff. I mean, if you want to send me a spool of Atomic to work with, I'm more than happy to give it a whirl. I just haven't bought any yet, at least of their ABS. Their PETG is phenomenal. I've also not worked with Form Futura. I mean, it's one of those things. I'm so deep right now in the weeds in the print it forward queue. I haven't had a chance to really get out and experiment much lately. As far as screens go, I don't have a screen on mine. I had a panel due, and I got rid of it because it didn't really feel like it added anything. I've got a laptop that sits very close to my printers that is my interface for them. So I just, use that and call it good. If I was using like Clipper or something like that, I might use it. It's just the panel do to me just is the juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's just too expensive for too low of resolution when my laptop is sitting in the same room to do what I'd be doing with that screen. And if I wanted something a little smaller, I've got an Amazon Fire HD7 that I went to a conference, or I got when I went to a conference, that I can have sitting right there on the desk with it. And so, yeah, the Amazon Fire tablets honestly are the way to go. Even if you've got something running Clipper with Octoprint, I mean, just log into Octoprint with a tablet, call it good, done. So I will say I am probably not going to stay up all night for this print, and I'm not going to leave the stream running when I'm not awake, just because. I'll let a few more layers go, but we'll probably wrap it up here in a little bit. So if you got any questions or anything like that, go ahead and punt them my way while I'm feeling loquacious. But I'm sure since you've all found me, you know where to find me on Discord. You know, if you don't know by now, you should figure out that I really just want to see everyone succeed. I really want to see everyone figure this out and dive deeper in this hobby and start giving back on their own. I'm just honestly trying to play 3D printing Sherpa. So if I can do anything for you guys, if I can answer any questions, just find me, track me down, send me a message. If it's something you think that may benefit the rest of the community, ask me in public. Don't ask me in private something you think that may benefit someone else. Why am I printing the Bowden inlet tube from V2.0? So there isn't one for V2.1 for people who aren't using the intake fan, or I'm sorry, the exhaust fan. And since I'm not using the exhaust fan, I need one for the back plate of this printer here. If there's a revised version that hasn't been posted, I'm more than happy to print that one. Hint, 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 nudge, nudge, nudge. Anyways, where was I? Yes. So if you've got questions or concerns or whatever about this, and you want to pick my brain, and it's something that you think the rest of the community would benefit from, ask me in public. Ask me on one of the Discord channels. Ask me on Reddit. And let's talk about it in public, because I want other people to learn from it. If it's something it's like, hey, this is very, very specific to me, and I don't think it will apply to anyone else, yeah, sure, I'm happy to help you, you know, figure it out on your own. Just print it and don't put a fan on it. Yeah. All right, I will get around to it. I will probably get around to it. Honestly, I had this sliced already, and it was on the printer, and someone asked me to spool up a print. That's why I'm printing it like this. I will probably print that at some point in time. I just honestly, I need to get out of being behind printing stuff for other people so I can print stuff for myself. And workshop, by the way, you asked about Print It Forward, and I hope I really gave you some good answers on that. And I hope you feel that, and everyone feels that I'm not trying to be mysterious about it or anything else. If it's something you feel called to do, if you feel that that's how you want to help give back to the community, let me know what I can do to help support you in doing that. We all give back differently. We all have our different strengths. Whether it be design. I mean, you've got people like Volcom and, I mean, Max. And the man built this. and Volcom broke it and then helped rebuild it. You've got the guys like that, but you've also got the guys who are there helping give good answers. And then the ones like me who don't always have good answers, but we can help, ask questions and then push people to finding those answers. And also giving back as far as just pushing forward, getting this printer out there. And yes, we do need this emoji on YouTube. Actually, one second. I'm going to interrupt the stream just so Max can see. All right, John. Yes. This will be available later. It should be back on my channel when it's done processing and everything. All right. If you are going to do one thing to check to see if your printer is running well, it is the 80-tooth pulley assembly. The 80-tooth pulley assembly, if you can do that by hand, you're bang on. I did a video of it a little bit ago. I will do it again here just for everyone to see. Give me a minute. And Max, I freely admit that wasn't me. That was, the one I just showed you was Timid. Actually, here, let me also show you the video, or not, sorry, not the video, the graphic that Andre did. So yeah, both Timid and Andre did loading graphics for me for these. And I'm very appreciative of them for that. But one second. Alright, so I'm going to shift gears for a second so you're going to not look at the awesome printing footage. So, flipping back to the disarray that is my workbench, you see that we have an 80-tooth pulley assembly. Thusly. I also have a 40-tooth pulley somewhere. Maybe. I know I've got one. What did I do with the thing? Well, crap. It's around here somewhere. What did I do with it? Alright, so I can't find the 40-tooth pulley. So we're just going to do it live. Assume there's a 40-tooth pulley in it. So we have this assembly here. Now, it's under the printer. Oh, it is. Oh, and thankfully that's on the side that does not have the mains wiring. Sometimes you get lucky. So, all right, 40-tooth pulley. It's already been delidded. It fits nicely there. So we're going to put that there, like this. And by the way, these are totally virgin, unassembled, never been tested parts. So this is just me being confident in my own printing ability. Yes, cocky, confident, whatever. Take it for what you will. So we are going to line this up like this. No tools. No vices. No nothing.
Just that straight. Icky, icky, icky. So, dude, there you have it.
And yes, this is like a game of memory. Yeah, welcome to my workbench. Also, that's the third one I've done tonight. I mean, it's one of those things. I realize there are some people who have had trouble getting those assembled, and I get it. It is very, very fiddly. But once you get it dialed in, it's really, really satisfying, because I know I can run a plate full of those and pull them off and just do exactly like that with every single one of them. And that's why we do what we do. That's why there's so many people who are passionate about this design. Because show me a printer that you could do that with otherwise. Okay, now show me a printer that you could do that otherwise that costs, you know, less than $2,000-3,000? I'll wait. So the ADT that I am printing are the files from the main line. So the main set of STLs, not the STLs in the Mobius 2. I have heard one or two people say that those are sized differently. Since I haven't printed that specific set of parts in the M2, I can't say. I just use the exact same pulleys for everything. And yes, for $2,000 to $3,000, someone had better be assembling my pulleys too. So the printer right now is actually doing something that's kind of interesting. That's I've only seen Slick 3R do this. So on the layer that is the first layer done after infill, so basically the bottom layer of the top layers, layer 1 of 5 in this case, it does that layer slower to ensure better coverage so the layers on top of it build nicer. I don't know if it's psychosomatic or what. I realize it slows things down, but it does look good. And maybe I'm just salty about Simplify 3D being Simplify 3D. Yeah, I could see that being a bit like Cura ironing, only it's at the bottom of the top layers as opposed to the top of the top layers. So it's making a smoother bed over the top of the infill as opposed to a smoother top at the top of things. And that may not make any sense at all. It sounded good in my head. So, for print it forward, how I handle it is I have a few different spools of filament that I've come across at various points in time that are aesthetically pleasing to be used as an accent with black primary parts. So if someone asks me to print for someone, or to print for them, I say, all right, cool, you're getting black primary color, and your choice of gray, white, blue, red, yellow, or I think orange. I think I've got orange left. And so you get your choice of those. And you say, hey, I want red. And I say, awesome, dude. And I print all your accents in red, and then all your other parts in black. And there you go. Now, if you choose to handle it differently, if you say, I'll do your accents in whatever color you want, but you have to send me a spool of that color, that's on you. What you choose to do for print it forward is on you. It's just the quality of your parts has to meet the measure of those of us who are representing the rest of the community. And I just happen to be that kind of public face of that. Oh yes, you can get several sets from a single kilogram of filament. I've not done the math on how much it weighs, to be very frank. I would say 3 sets easy, maybe 4. I will say this as a suggestion. Take it for what you paid for it. If you decide you want to start offering printed forward services, get vetted, and before you publicly announce that you are offering it, go ahead and print out 2 to 3 sets to be sitting on in inventory so that when you get mobbed, you can just turn them around and start shipping quickly. That's just me, though. And I would have done that if it hadn't been released sooner than I expected. It does, and that's the thing about it. You really need to set realistic expectations. One of the things I will probably ask someone for print it forward is, I want you to tell me what you think the essential parts for V2 build are. And this is not a trick question, by the way. What you think the essential parts are. And then the next question will be, okay, spool all those up, slice them, print them. Tell me how long it takes you to do that. Because that really determines what it looks like for, how you want to manage your queue. If it takes you a week to do someone's parts, okay, well then, if your queue is 10 people deep like mine right now, then, the person who's last in my queue is, looking at 10 weeks before he gets his parts, based on those numbers. And by the way, the numbers I'm quoting are not my actual lead times. So if you're in my queue right now and I say 10 weeks and you're number 10, don't be freaking out. Trust me. James, where are you located globally, if I may ask? 1/8 BSP is actually the exact part that E3D specs and uses. So if you have an E3D dealer, you can source those fittings through them. They're the exact same ones that come in the V6 and Chimera package. If you're in Canada, I think you can still get them other places other than E3D dealers. I just don't know where. There should be a Team Canada channel on Discord, and I would highly suggest asking there. There are a couple of nationality-specific and locality-specific channels on the Discord. So if you're in those areas and you have issues sourcing stuff, reach out to those people who live where you're at. Yeah, that E3D part is the same thing as what's listed in the BOM. It's just from E3D as opposed to insert, company here. And yes, you can find everything on AliExpress. I don't. I am not confident enough in how exact they are to say that M10 is the same as 1/8 BSP. I would hesitate to say they're interchangeable. That's just me, though. I also live in the U.S., and McMaster-Carr and Philistruder are both 2 hours away from my front door. So it's getting late in my neck of the woods, and I'm probably going to rack out here shortly. Before I do, though, are there anyone here that, or is there anyone here, I should say, that have any questions that I might be able to answer for y'all? Anything that you want to see, anything you want to know, anything you want a close-up of? And yeah, I technically work in Eastern time zone, but I live in Central, so I'm right there with you, workshop. Okay, the HNTAJ5. Translation to Misumi, short, post-assembly T-nuts. Worth every penny. I bought a stack of 100 of them and have not looked back. I mean, yes, they're expensive. Yes, they're worth it. You install them and forget about them. The only thing about them is you have to be a little bit careful when installing them, because you can bend the legs so that they don't lock as tight as they should. Now, as far as do I get them both in the 5 and the 3mm versions, I only have the 5mm version. I don't have the 3s. The 5mm place is the only place where it is space constrained. 3 mils, you can get away with whatever you want to drop in there. I will caution you, though, if you're ordering 3 mils, or any of them, honestly, from Ali, double check the size of the slot key that's on that ball bearing roll-in T-nut. I have gotten batches where I ordered them and they were specified as 6mm extrusion width, and they were 5mm, which makes them, I'm not going to say useless, but very, very, very close to useless. So take that for what you will. No matter what you get, they're going to be better than hammerheads, because hammerheads are horrible. Horrible. So, first, James, how much Bowden should you get? Honestly, when you're placing an order for all the other stuff from AliExpress, get 2 meters of the Capricorn knockoff stuff from TriangleLabs and call it good. It's close enough. So, hammerheads are bad because you can't tell if they're locked in, and the other thing of it is you have to like tighten it all the way down, and then you look and you have to like get your head in this weird position and kind of squint and like maybe get a mirror in there and see, and then it's not locked in, so you have to back it all the way off, and then you have to do it again and it's still not locked in, and then you have to go get a dental pick and like force the thing to move over and cam over and then lock it in, and then you've got to do that all over again for like 10, 15, 20 different times. Screw that. And I'm not saying they're absolutely the end of the world. There are some places that they're actually useful. Like on the rails themselves, it's actually a lot easier to pre-install all of them along a rail and pre-stage them and just install the rail on the extrusion and bolt it down that way. But that's the only place on a V2 and a V2.1 that I can really honestly endorse hammerheads. And I realize they are cheaper, but the stress factor in using them, to me, isn't worth it. That's me, though. That's my use, that's my state, that's my condition. If you feel differently, you do you, man. And that's not directed at you, by the way, personally, Workshop. That's just me saying in general. Just, hey, look, if you feel like these are better than what I'm choosing to use, I'm all for it, man. If you can create something that you're proud of having associated with your name, then I don't have any leg to stand on, really. It's your name and your identity put with it. And that's kind of what's unique about the Voron community is the serial system. It seems kind of silly and stupid and kind of a bragging point, yes, but your serial that you submit that is put in front of the entire community is you. That is your face. That is your identity. So what you put in front of everyone is you. What is your perspective on things? What do you see as far as the world? What do you see as far as what your build is? What matters to you? And I'm not saying you're judged on it so much as everyone's identity is different. Everyone's perception is different. Everyone's level of importance for various things is different. So it's very interesting to go and look at different people's serials and see what they've done where, because you really get a decent idea of where they're going. I mean, someone could be building a budget build, but it can be absolutely gorgeous and glorious. And then there could be someone who's just throwing money at your problem, and it looked absolutely horrible. So it's just interesting. And I say this as a student of humanity. Yeah, and Max, the other saying is, buy once, cry once. It's just like the PA09s. I bought some cheap ratcheting crimper things for 20 bucks and got like 10 out of 40 crimps that were bad, and then said fuck it and bought PA09s, and so I wasted 20 bucks. I could have spent 40 bucks and been done with it, but yeah. As far as nuts and screws, carbon steel is stronger than stainless. Is there going to be enough difference in the strength between stainless and carbon that you notice and will impact your print quality of the resulting machine? Probably not. But once again, whatever Max says, do what he says. And if, as far as crimpers go, engineer PA09s. Period. Full stop. End of discussion. Like 42 bucks on Amazon with Prime right now. Damn. Alright, so it is way later than I intended it to be. I've been at some form of this for, carry the one, like 5.5 hours now. So there's part 1, part 2, and part 3, and maybe a part 4, I don't know, because YouTube streaming sucks. And so I apologize that if sometimes the messages got cut off in the middle of it. I'm still on Central Time, so I am 23 minutes past 11, not past midnight, thankfully. Yeah. Anyways, guys, look. Thank you for everything. I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for people wanting to learn. I might go Twitch for the next one. Who knows? I don't. I'll probably wind up dragging everything up to my office and plugging this into my desktop the next time. So I actually have, some decent computational ass and a wired connection as opposed to running off of Wi-Fi, even though it should be AC. So look, seriously guys, do what you can to help other people out. No man's an island is in whatever other hollow platitudes you want to throw at it. But at the end of the day, we do this, we hang out in Discord and everything else to really give back and to really help other people find a path to doing what they do. And that's why I'm here. I'm not doing this for anything other than I'm bored on a Sunday night and there are people who want help and need help. I don't care if you do a live stream. I don't care if you print parts for someone else. I don't care if you just hang out in Discord and tell someone every now and again, hey dude, you might want to consider doing this. Just do something, please. And with that, guys, that's all I got. Have a good night. Be safe. Don't set your mom's basement on fire, because I know someone is going to. Damn it! And until the next time I can be asked to do one of these, talk to y'all later.